Hello. I thought I'd try my hand at a reaction video. This is for 1970s forgotten toys. I grew up in the 70s. I was a kid at that era. What you're seeing here are the kids on the bikes. Exactly what we did when I was growing up. Uh, Bike riding was a big thing. That was social media back at the time. So anyway, let's see here. Let's go a little bit
There's
farther.
no doubt that the 1970s was a different time. Anyone who looks back at some of the photographs from that decade can quickly see how crazy the clothes, hairstyle.
Yeah, the hairstyles, the clothing, the bell bottoms, the really I don't know how you kind of curly, super curly hair, uh, very casual leisure wear at that time. Um, the jean jackets, stuff like that. Uh, the long hair, of course. Guys sported the long hair. Um, that was part of the 70s for sure.
Homes, and of course the cars were. But it really was a great decade.
The cars in the 70s was a lot different than what you'll see now. They're none of the electronics that you have in them. A lot of them had cigarette lighters, so you could light your cigarettes, which you can smoke in the car, which you don't see those in the cars anymore. Um, they had your basic, usually either AM or F, and if you really spurged AM FM radio, you could always install maybe an 8-track player into the system, or they can, if I think they had maybe an option later to put 8 tracks into them. You could see the removable top there. Wasn't quite a convertible, but it was close. Um, they also had ashtrays in the doors, so that when you smoke, light your cigarette with a cigarette lighter inside the car. You push it, it gets red. Pull it out, light your cigarette, smoking. Pull down the ashtray on the side of on the door, and there you go.
Experience. Even the toys that we enjoyed were a bit different. In this video, we will have a look back and remember some of those that you may have forgotten about. Long before Grand Theft Auto or even Pole Position, there was the Drive Yourself Crazy game. This analog game provided hours of entertainment.
I don't remember too much of this game. I believe I seen it in like a Sears Wish book at the time. I never had it. Wasn't big into this kind of type of game, but it was very much the 70s. I think the basic premise was you drive the car, the road would come, on the road there, and you have obstacles, stuff like that. Like I said, I never had this particular game, but it was. I remember seeing it.
And for many kids, it was their first start in perfecting their driving skills. In the 70s, every little kid loved Fisher Price's Little People. They had many
Little people were very big in the 70s. Um, they had a lot of sets like you see here. They had a McDonald's set. They had farms. They had planes. Um, Garages like this one. They had all kinds of different type of buildings and stuff like you could play sets. You could play with them. With they were huge, especially in the mid and early 70s. These were like the top toys.
different play sets like the Auto Garage or this one, the Castle. It had doors, windows, ramps, stairs, and so much more for little hands to explore. The original Weebles were an egg-shaped toy that many kids loved.
Yeah, the Weebles came out I think in the late 70s. They were my niece had some of them. They're Weebles wobbles, but they don't fall down. So basically, they're egg shaped. So when you put them down, they just kind of wobble around. They had play sets as well. My niece had the play set for the I think what was it the tree house. I know one year I saw fireworks in it. But yeah, these were extremely popular, like the Play School Little People. Uh, they had a lot of commercials and a lot of play sets as well.
They were incredibly sturdy and they also had a catchy phrase: Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. If there is one company that helped pave the way for Nintendo's handheld Game Boy, then it has to be Mattel. They had simple.
These were very big too. Mattel came out with these electronic football and baseball games. I didn't have one. A friend did. Played it all the time. The football one. Um, Another very popular toy back then because in the 70's, anything that had electronics in it or said electronic uh, was a good surefire hit because that's the future of toys, electronics.
Handheld games like this one with only 9 buttons and an LCD screen. At the time, these were great to have in the car on long road trips and they were highly entertaining. If you happen to still have the Fisher Price pocket camera and you want to pass it down to your grandkids or great grandkids, then it's probably going to confuse them.
I never had one of these. I do remember seeing around. I don't think I knew anybody that had one, but I did. Like every year the Sears Wish Book would come out for Christmas, and they would have those in there. I remember seeing it. There's another one of those toys that I remember seeing, but didn't know anybody that had one.
There is a high probability that they have never seen a 110 camera or a flash cube. Wooly Willy was a magnetic game.
This game, yeah, I didn't have it. I know people did have it. Basically, you take the magnetic stick here, and he had these little pellets, and you could give him hair, you could give him a mustache, you could give him a beard, and all that. Uh, one of those, like you saying on the video, road trip toys where you take with you on a road trip, play around, get to keep kids busy while you were, if it was, like a 2 hour trip or something like that.
That helped young boys experiment with facial hair long before they could even grow any. It had a magnetic wand that would pull the iron shavings over the desired area for different hairy situations. The quick shoot turned kids into rootin' tootin' marble shootin' sharpshooters. This good old fashioned fun is a great way to pull kids away from their screen and experience something from the past. The Super Spirograph was a favorite for both girls and boys. This edition contained more spinners than the average spirograph, so you can make even more cool patterns. Chances are kids.
Again, this is one of these toys I never owned. I don't think I knew anybody owned one either, but they were very popular in, like I said, the Sears Wish books. You see them all the time. These kind of art, kind of learning toys that came out in the 70's. They were somewhat popular. Not as much as the Little People or anything like that, but I think they did sell quite a few of them.
Would love them if they were just exposed to them, and you'll love showing them what you used to do. The Astro Ray gun was a weapon that was powered by friction and shot off sparks when the trigger was pulled. If you were really excited about.
You see a lot of these type of, it's not just this ray gun, but there's a lot of them that had that. I had a gun that did the same thing. It was a different type. Basically, you press trigger and you see the lightning, and it would have lightning in the top of it, and then sparks come out of the muzzle. Um, and it was basically a very fun action toys. Again, I think it was like early 70's when this came out. I don't remember this exact one. I didn't have it, but this had to be, I would think, early 70's.
His toy, then there's a good chance that you wore a fishbowl on your head while running around firing the gun in your yard. This next toy may seem silly to be on here, but I can't help but mention it. Legos.
Legos were popular back then. Wasn't like it is today, where they have all those, the Star Wars, and they're super expensive, I was amazed when my nephew was little and he got them, and at the price of them, how much they paid. You go to the store and you look at them like, oh my god, Back then they weren't very much. I think they're this set would probably run you $5 or something like that. Uh, Nothing like you see today.
Yes, of course they are still around, but there are zillions of more colors, shapes, sizes, and themes than there were in the 1970s. This particular old box set required you to use some real imagination in your creations. In the 1970s, this would have been our first person shooter game. It was the next best thing to going to the fair. Tomy had quite a few of these little pocket games on the market. The 70s was all about knitting, and little girls also wanted to get in on the hobby. Mattel came out with the Knit Magic toy, and soon everyone was receiving knitted gifts at Christmas, birthdays, and special occasions.
I don't remember this toy. Like I said, it was basically for girls, mostly. I hang around with guys, so uh, other boys just had boys' toys. I don't remember anybody actually having one of these. Uh, I guess that's why it's kind of forgotten toys. Um, I don't even remember seeing it in a catalog or anything.
We may not have had our own Google Chromebook as kids in the 70s, but we did have our very own laptop. The Fisher Price Learning Desk Set was how most of us learned how to spell. Today,
Yeah, in the '70s, you see quite a few of these around. I didn't have one, but they were everywhere because it was considered a learning toy, and that was learning toys were also big in the '70s, and stuff that helps kids learn was a major thing for toy manufacturers back then. So you'd have stuff like this where they could spell and pictures and all kinds of stuff to help your kid supposedly help your kid learn when they're not in school and while they play.
this might confuse kids as they try to match the letters instead of typing them. At one time, we were really encouraged to be
Light Bright, I never understood the popularity of Light Bright. I didn't have one, but I know people did, and I tried them. It kind of gets bored me after a while. I mean, it's very creative if you're very artistic. Um, I just didn't get into them. I couldn't see the popularity of them. But I didn't know people had them, and I had a lot of fun with them. But that's just one of those toys that just never interested me. Even though I like to draw and stuff like that, I guess I just did not have the creative spark for it at that time.
creative with the types of toys that we had, and the Light Bright was no exception. Kids were happy and content, poking colored pegs into the black paper as the light behind it transformed their creations into colorful works of art. Remember how entertained we were with kaleidoscopes? These were simple little toys that let us look at our surroundings in a completely different way. The interesting thing about
I see a lot of these growing up. Kaleidoscopes when you look through and you turn it. Very. It's one of those kind of toys that would not go over today, and no kid would even be interested in it. But at the time, you put it in, look at it, and turn the knob on the end, and all kinds of weird stuff would appear, and it was popular back then. But like I said, today, wouldn't go over.
this toy was that you only needed one eye to enjoy it. Cash registers were at every store when we were kids, and they looked a lot more similar to this than they do today. This cash register was a toy that was made by Fisher Price, but kids loved it and it kept them busy for hours.
Yeah, the old manual cash register. These were the kind that you had in stores back then. Basically, they had the push the buttons. This is lightly based on that. You had your change and all that. But yeah, these were all manual at the time, just like it was in the stores back then. None of the UPC symbols or anything like that. It was all done by checkers who just looked at the thing and typed it into the cash register. You really had to know your stuff doing that. It's not like they were anybody could just boop. The UPC, you actually had to look at the product, type it in, and into the register. And a lot of them were very, very fast. I've seen some Kmart cashiers back in the day in the 70s, man, they would just fly. They'd be just pushing it out, looking at the prices and popping them in. They were some very fast people on those registers back then.
What house in the 1970s didn't have these? Raggedy Ann and Andy. They were simple little pals with yarn hair, but they definitely are not something that you see kids with anymore. Over the years, Parker Brothers has had a lot of fun games. Payday was one of those, and for many kids, this was their first introduction into the world of an adult. It
I never had a payday game. I remember it being out. I was thought about getting one at one time. There was a lot of these type of games back, board games back in the day. This is one of the ones that were. They kept coming up with different types. This is the one. A lot of them like this would be to show you what it was like to be an adult, which, it's being an adult stinks.
was a whole lot more fun when you were playing with paper money and dealing with make believe scenarios. Today, there are many different generations that know about Transformers, but that's probably not the case with Micronauts. They were in a league of their own, and these little art.
I had a couple of Micronauts. I had one with like it was called a Croyer. He was in like a Pharaoh's tomb, the whole thing. And I had an alien. I can't think of his name. He was a lizard with the wings. My friend, the one that got into Star Wars, he got into the Micronauts too. He had all the toys, all of these, and there's basically you can take apart their arms or leg, take off their arm or not arms, but their hands or whatever, and switch them around, that kind of thing. You could with the bigger toys. They even had their own city and stuff like that. It was big back then.
Articulated action figures are due for a comeback. Perfection was a super fun game, but it may have given many kids anxiety disorders in their adult life.
I never played Perfection, but it did could scare you up when it popped up. I seen them in action.
In order to beat the timer and avoid the popping scare, you had to remain as cool as a cucumber under pressure. It was the perfect game to hone those skills if you wanted to grow up and disarm bombs. If you couldn't get your hands on an Atari, then perhaps you have the Telstar video game system. It was made for sports fans and gave users.
I wanted an Atari. I begged my mom for one. They were extremely expensive in the 70s, around $270. And if you know anything like from back then, that was a lot of money. I begged my mom one. My friends had gotten one, and I wanted one real bad. So I got a box for Christmas, and it was about the size of an Atari box. And I was super excited. And I opened it up. It was a Pong game like this. It also the Pong game also had it had two controllers. It had the two on the main base, and it had two that came out that you could play, so four people. It also had like a gun for shooting like game. But yeah, these were very popular in the 70s as well.
To play electronic tennis, hockey, and handball long before Nintendo gave us the Wii. When the Simon Memory game came out in 1978, it quickly became a coffee table favorite. This little game tested your memory skills, which seems to be something missing in modern games. If you've ever seen younger drivers pulling up to an intersection.
Yeah, Simon was a big electronic game. Like I said, in the mid seven late I think it's in the late 76, 77, all that anything with electronic. Simon, Electronic Battleship, all those kinds of games were extremely starting to get really popular. Anything that was electronic, because that was the future thing coming in.
Stop signs, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The Fisher Price Medical Care playset inspired many kids to become doctors and nurses. There were many kids who treated their teddy bears, and if you had one of these, then you can certainly remember hearing a heartbeat through the stethoscope.
I never had one of these, but I do remember them in the catalogs.
For more than 5 years, Starsky and Hutch and their trusty Gran Torino graced our television screens during the 1970s. Kids pretended to be them, and this little RC car was a blast racing it around in the.
I didn't have the RC car. I did have a Starsky and Hutch gun set. It came with a 44 Magnum. I can't remember which. I think he carried it. And it had a 45 automatic. Ones that used in the military, like during World War II and all that. I think he carried that one. I'm not 100% sure, but I did get it. I did get that for Christmas one year. Uh, I thought the guns looked amazing.
Driveway. As you look back at some of these toys, it's almost amazing to think how the simplest things entertain kids. These dancing Mickey Mouse toys would move when you pressed a button. They were certainly a favorite in the car on cross country road trips. What kid didn't have a Mattel Jack in the Box toy? This might be the single reason why so many people seem to be scared of clowns.
These are another one I did not have, but I do remember them. I remember people having some of them.
It was a perfect toy for those that wanted to scare the crap out of their cat or their younger sibling. If you have granddaughters or great granddaughters that are into Barbie dolls, then perhaps you may want to look into getting this couple on eBay. There is no way that they will know who Sonny and Cher are.
I think a lot of people might know who Cher is. Sonny might not so much. They were married in the 60s and the 70s. They put out a lot of music. Um, I'm trying to think of the one that was a big hit for him. Oh, shoot. I hate when I can't remember. I'll Be For You, Babe. Something like that. They also had a variety show that ran on CBS for a while in the 70s. Um, he unfortunately got died. He became a congressman, uh, but unfortunately, Sonny died in a skiing accident.
Girls may think that these are the coolest Barbies ever. One of the biggest names in the 1970s was Evel Knievel. He inspired us to jump our bikes on death-defying ramps out in the streets. But there was also a line of toys that many kids wanted as.
I didn't have any Evil Knievel toys, but my friends did. They had the the stunt bike, they had the van, they had Evil Knievel, they had his son. I can't remember his son's name, and they had a lot of the toys. Didn't I wasn't a big fan of Evil Knievel. I mean, he was big in the 70s. I watched some of the stuff, and he tried to jump Snake out and that kind of thing. Uh, but he was extremely popular in the mid 70s, and these toys did sell really well for a while.
Well, there were action figures, funny cars, and motorcycles, just to name a few. For many people, Evel Knievel toys will represent a childhood when we looked up to a stuntman. Way before VCRs and Netflix, we actually had a family game night, and it was a ton of fun. The classic Ants in the Pants game is easy to learn and perfect for little ones. This building kit was from Milton Bradley, and it was called the Constructo Straws. The set came with a variety of bendy straws and plastic pieces to attach them. It was another way for kids to learn how to think three-dimensional. Hungry Hungry Hippos was a simple game that came out in 1978.
This was a game I didn't have. It was popular. I think it's still people talk about Hungry Hungry Hippos, but yeah, in the 70s it was a extremely popular game.
It's just as fun now as it was then. So if you still have one of these, then break it out the next time there's a family get-together and let the games begin. Tommy's Tudor typewriter toy was just like the one that Mom and Dad used, and it even made the signature ding sound. This little toy was how many kids first learned how to type. If the weather was bad outside, then it was the perfect time to try your hand at playing Boggle. You never knew how fast time could fly until you tried to find words and anagrams with random letters that it spit out after being shaken. It will definitely boggle your brain. The
Wasn't a game I had, but I know people had it.
Bionic Woman board game.
These were also big in the '70s. You see these, how do you describe them? They're basically just anything that was popular. These companies would, like Parker Brothers, would shoot out a game. Bionic Woman, Bionic Man, $6 Million Man, Scooby Doo. Anything that was popular, they would have a board game. Some sort of board game for it. I mean, there must be tons in landfills are decomposing now because there was like so many different games based on TV shows and movies that they would spit out on these, and a lot of them weren't very good. They were very cheaply made and basically came and went very fast.
Perfect example of what is not around anymore. It was another classic from Parker Brothers that was based off the television show. This game challenged kids to use her methods in order to get things done. There will always be the great debate on which decade was the best. However, if you personally experienced this decade, then this one might be your favorite. It
So that was Ready for History. I suggest looking at some of his videos, some good toy videos and stuff like that from ages past. Um, the '70s toys, there's a lot more than just these. There were Mago figures. There were a bunch of other stuff, a bunch of other games that came out. Like I mentioned, Electronic Battleship was came out at that time. Anything electronic, it, that's what they were doing in the mid '70s. Basically, because it was so futuristic. So you'd have those type of games coming out. Anything they always say electronic battleship, electronic this, electronic that, and they would sell because that's the future. People wanted the newest, coolest thing, and toys that were electronic that did stuff was was the big thing. But anyway, thanks for watching this little I guess a reaction video. But I seen this and I thought that's kind of cool because some of these toys and stuff is that I knew about growing up or had growing up too. Uh, uh, Provided a lot of memories. But anyway, thanks for watching, and everyone have an amazing day.